I'm Trevor Turner. Once lost, now living on purpose. I know what it's like to feel locked out of your own potential. This show is for the ones who are ready to take their power back and write a new story, 1 hour at a time. You can do it. You can do anything, and you don't need permission. That's why I started the free hour, to give people the space to change their story, to remind them you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not done, you are powerful. You can find freedom, you can find yourself, and you decide what happens next.
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner, and we are back with another video. First of all, if you're new here, welcome. This is a channel where we talk about how to get your life back, how to get your freedom back, 1 hour at a time. How to use the free hours of your day to do better, to be better, to feel better, to dream bigger, and to achieve bigger. And this is our mindfulness series. This is the ABCs of Tree, the free hour ABCs in the context of mindfulness. This is where you learn to become aware so that you can live intentionally. And today's episode is going to be a really great episode. I hope by the end of this episode that you subscribe to the channel. I hope if you like the video, you like the video. And if this helps you in any way, comment on the video. Because today we're going to be talking about something that I think is super important. One of the things that I had to learn very early on, and I learned this from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Covey, is that our circle of influence and our circle of concern need to match up with each other. A lot of times we face a lot of stress, we face a lot of conflict, we face a lot of inner strife because the things that we are concerned about are things that we can't actually do much about, or that we don't actually have control over. We have all of these cares about things that we cannot do anything about, that we have no influence over. So what happens is that our circle of influence might be like this size, but our circle of concern is so much bigger. And what happens is that we need to either, one, learn to implement, build, and develop the tools in our life to make our circle of influence bigger, or we need to shrink down that circle of concern. One of the tools that helped me with that was the Serenity prayer, which is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how to cultivate that wisdom to know the difference, about learning to accept the things we cannot change. And this is about letting go. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about putting things down that were never yours to carry in the first place. Today we're on the letter L in our mindfulness series, and it is letting go, getting out of your head and getting back into your life. See, there are times when nothing is actually going wrong, but you still feel off. Like your mind is running all day. You're thinking about work, you're thinking about school, you're thinking about family, you're thinking about the world, you're thinking about politics, you're thinking about the war, you're thinking about the people who are in charge of the country, you're thinking about everything. And no matter how much you think about it, you don't feel any closer to being okay. And I think the old way, or the way you may be stuck in right now, the way I know I was stuck in, is staying in your head. You stay in your head about carrying on, about ruminating, about concerning yourself with things that we have no control over. Constantly complaining about policies, constantly complaining about the president, constantly complaining about things that we don't have any actual control over. Constantly complaining about our boss at work, constantly complaining about traffic, constantly complaining about our kids. At the end of the day, these are things that we have less of an influence over than we think we do. And we wake up just already thinking, just already going, already worried about what's going to go wrong, already worried about how this person is going to affect us negatively, already worried about the things that we're going to have to deal with from these people, already worried about the fact that we can't change anything that's going to happen when we deal with those people. We go through our day distracted. We're doing one thing. We're thinking about 5 others. We're trying to plan everything. We're trying to prepare for everything. We're trying to control how all of it is going to play out. How every single second of every single day is going to play out. how every interaction we have is going to play out, how every appointment we're going to have is play out, how our schedule is 100% going to play out, how dealing with our boss is going to play out, how traffic is going to play out, how our kids are going to play out. We're concerned and thinking about and trying to control all of it. And it feels productive having your finger on the pulse of everything, having your grip on everything, having your hand in all sorts of different pots and all sorts of different jars. But really, it just drains you. Because you're carrying things that haven't even happened yet. You're carrying things that already happened that you can't relive, that you can never get back. You're carrying things that you don't even have a choice whether they happen or not. It's like that rope that you have wrapped around your hand and you're just trying to pull on it and pull on it and pull on it, but it's never going to move. It's never going to get anywhere because you don't have the capability. You don't have the influence on that thing. You don't have what you need to pull on it. So it just ends up digging into your hand and hurting you and keeping you from doing the things that you actually can do, the things that you actually need to do. The shift for me was realizing this. I wasn't overwhelmed because life was too much. I was overwhelmed because I wouldn't put anything down. And this is something that I've even been dealing with recently. Obviously, this is something I started to come to terms with when I was reading about the circle of influence and my circle of concern, because I thought that I could control everyone around me. I thought that I could control the way that everybody around me thought, the way that everybody around me acted, the way that everybody around me felt about me or thought about me. I thought that I could control all of those things if I just acted a certain way or if I just was a certain way. I could control every eventuality and everything that happened to me. And I kept getting overwhelmed because what happens is that those things that you try your best to control and plan every eventuality for and try to make every safeguard against will eventually end up happening. And you end up thinking of yourself as a failure because you thought that you could control that situation. You thought that you were at the driver's seat. You thought that you were behind the wheel. You thought that there was no other option other than to try to steer that ship, and that ship was unsteerable. I wouldn't put anything down. The way I had to interact with my boss and my supervisor, the way I was interacting with clients, my schedule, the way that my teachers were acting with me. Those are the things that have been more recently, right? And I think that what happened is that I was trying to hold on to more than I could control. Still, the only thing I can control is how I show up. The effort I put in, whether I'm there or not, whether I put 100% in or not, whether I have consistency, whether I have momentum, motivation, or intensity, right? Whether I do what I say that I'm going to do, whether I have integrity. There's very limited amount of things that I can actually control. I can't control whether somebody does what they tell me that they're going to do. I cannot have control whether somebody is going to treat me with the respect I feel like I deserve. I have little to no control over whether somebody's going to treat me nice or whether somebody's going to be kind to me or whether somebody's going to like me or respect me or any of those things. All I have control of is myself, how I feel, how I think, and how I show up. I was trying to carry my job, my school, my future, my family, all at the same time in my head. And mindfulness really came down to one simple question. What actually matters right now? What actually matters right now? And I think for me, to get to the answer to that question was, what can I change right now? What can I influence right now? What do I have influence over in my circle of influence right now? Not what's in the past is already gone, not what's in the future that may or may not even happen yet or hasn't happened yet. What do I have control over right now? What is happening right now? And that's what matters to me. I got the serenity to accept the things I do not change, but I also got the courage to change the things that I could, because not everything matters. Just right now matters. And there's a concept I want to talk to you about. It's called cognitive load and mental overload, because your brain can only process a limited amount of information at once. And this is known as cognitive load. When you're constantly thinking about multiple stressors, future plans, responsibilities, worst case scenarios, you actually overload your system. John Sweller, educational psychologist, developed cognitive load theory, and he studied how the brain processes and retains information under different levels of mental demand. When too much information is processed at once, performance drops and stress increases. You're not just thinking a lot. You don't just have a lot on your plate. You're exceeding your brain's capacity, your emotional and mental capacity. That's why you feel drained. That's why you feel scattered. That's why you feel off balance. That's why you feel like the world and everything coming out is able to disrupt your inner peace. That's why your equilibrium is off. That's why you're not able to stay on the good foot and do everything that you need to do the way that you need to do it. That's why you feel like you can't show up. That's why you feel like you're on the back foot, like you're always in reaction mode, like you're always trying to put out fires because you're exceeding your brain's capacity. You're worried about too much. You have too much going on in your mind that you can't actually do anything about. There's the illusion of control, which is why we keep thinking about this stuff. We tend to believe that if we keep thinking about something, that we're actually controlling it. We tend to believe that if we keep something, someone, a topic, a concept, a person, a place, a thing, a situation, if we keep it on our mind, then we're controlling it. If we're ruminating over it, if we're thinking of all the different directions we can go with it, all the different solutions we could come up with, all the things we could say, all the ways we could approach it, all the different angles of it, all the nooks and crannies of it, we think we're controlling it. We think we actually have the influence over it just because it's in our mind. This is something that actually comes into play when we talk about and think about forgiveness, when we think about people who have wronged us, when we think about times and situations that have hurt us, when we think about our past hurts, our past traumas, the injuries that have been done to us. We think that if we constantly ruminate over those things, we think that if we constantly focus on those things, we think that if we constantly keep our guard up and safeguard ourselves against that, because I will never let that happen to me again. I will never put myself in that situation again. I will never be fooled again. That we're actually in control. But it's just like Nelson Mandela said, it's like drinking poison, but expecting the other person to die. You're holding on to these situations, you're holding on to these things that you don't have the control over, giving yourself the illusion of control, but actually lowering your cognitive load, increasing your stress, and reducing any type of performance that you might have in any other areas of your life that you actually do have control over, because you have all these other things going on, all these other tabs open, all these other things using up your RAM. See, the brain is one of the most sophisticated computers ever created, built, designed, birthed, in operation, whatever you want to say, however you want to describe it. It's one of the most sophisticated computers ever. It's probably the most sophisticated ever, but it still has its limitations. It still has its limits. It has its load. It's got its RAM speed. Most of the time, we're not actually in control. We're just mentally holding on to it. We're just using up space. We're using up energy. And that's Ellen Langer, a Harvard psychologist. She studied how people believe they have control over outcomes that are actually random or uncontrollable. People overestimate their control, especially in uncertain situations. That constant thinking about your future, your responsibilities, everything going on, it feels like control, but it's actually keeping you stuck. That constant going back to the past, and I should have said this, and next time I'm going to say this, next time I'm going to act like this, I'll never be embarrassed like that again, I'll never be hurt like that again. You're actually not even in control of what the next person comes and does to you. You think you're establishing boundaries, you're just putting those walls up, but guess what? That doesn't even control whether somebody else hurts you in the exact same way. You're thinking about a future that hasn't come to pass yet. You think you're in control of it, but the future is completely uncontrollable from your perspective, from where you're sitting. You have no control over these eventualities. You have a measure of influence on what you build, but it's actually a very uncontrollable outcome. It's a very unpredictable outcome. And constantly holding on to it is keeping you stuck. And yeah, like if I'm being real, lately I've been noticing this about myself lately. I'm making this new transition into a situation that is almost 90% out of my control. So, like I said, I'm working over at Garden Pathways, right? I was doing the facilitation. Facilitation, I feel like, was more in my control because what I do is I study the curriculum, I prepare myself, I get the lesson plans ready, I get up there and I do the curriculum as it's taught, but I add in my own stories, I add in my own perspective, I add in my own experiences with it, right? And what happens is that I'm in control of a whole lot of what happens. But then I moved over to this new section and now I'm doing mentoring, I'm doing case management. I'm not in a lot of control over there. And it threw me for a loop because I'm dealing with people. I'm not dealing with a curriculum. I'm not dealing with a book. I'm dealing with a person. Not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's ready. Not everybody wants the help that you're willing to give them. Not everybody's going to mess with your personality. Not everybody's going to want to answer the phone when you're on your work hours. Not everybody's going to want to respond to texts. Not everybody's going to want to respond to calls. They're going to want texts. Not everybody is going to be the same. Not everybody's going to respond to the advice that you give them. Not everybody's going to respond to the way that you talk to them. Not everybody's going to respond to your story. Not everybody's going to relate to you, right? And the thing was, because I had come from a spot where I thought I had so much more control, it threw me for a loop not to be getting the results that I thought that I wanted or that I thought that I should have been getting. And one of the things I had to realize, and I had to help put it into perspective, was that even when I was in facilitation, I really wasn't in that much control. The only thing I could control was how prepared I was. The only thing I could control was how enthusiastically, how diligently, how persistently, how consistently, how much I put into presenting this material. It was on them to learn it. It was on them to get it. It was on them to understand it. It was on them to apply it. But I felt like I had so much more control, and I had to realize that, like, no, I'm still in the same level of control because the only thing I can control is myself. But I was holding on to so many different things. I was holding on to this client and the crisis she was going through. I was holding on to that client and the fact that no one had heard from him for months and no one knew where he was at. No one knows if he's even okay. I'm holding on to this client. They're telling me all of their stuff and I'm like, damn, like, I don't know how to help them. I don't know what I can do for them. I don't know, like, how I can be of service to them. And I have to figure it out as I go, right? And I'm holding on to all of these different things and a whole bunch more different stuff because I got like 30 exactly clients now. And it's just like everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own situation. Everybody's having their own crisis. Everybody's going through their own things, right? And it's like, it threw me for that loop because I'm holding on to everybody. I'm holding on to all of their stuff that's going on. And I'm holding on to them in such a way because I'm thinking, like, if I just keep them in the front of my mind, if I just remember them, if I just take them home with me, if I just think about them even when I'm looking into this camera, if I just think about them when I'm at school, if I just have them on my mind and I'm constantly checking my work phone, if I just do that, then everything will work out for them. And when it didn't, it was destroying me. Or when anybody had an issue or a problem and I couldn't do something, it hurt me so much, right? And I had to realize, like, I needed to let go. Because I felt those things from my past starting to creep in. Those inadequacies. The way that I used to feel about myself. I felt myself falling out of love with myself because I wasn't getting the results that I'm supposed to be getting. But I'm not in control of the results. I'm not in control of what a whole other person does. And I think a lot of us do that. A lot of us feel like if we just do this or if we just do that, then that other person is going to respond and react and act and be with and do everything exactly the way that we want them to or need them to. And when they don't, it breaks us. It makes us fall apart. It makes us feel as if we have no worth. When those situations don't pan out the way that we want them to, or the way that we've been preparing them to, or the way that we put all this work into, when we're juggling everything, work, school, family, your kids, your health, feeling off balance, constantly thinking instead of just being present. Like even now, when I had first started to try to record this video, this is take 3 or 4. I found myself thinking about work, found myself thinking about school, found myself thinking about other things, found myself thinking about my parents and their health issues, found myself thinking about all these other things that are going on in my life that I have no control over. The only thing that I have control over right now is what I say to this camera. I don't even have control over whether you feel it or not, whether you understand it or not, whether it helps you or not, whether it changes you or not. The only thing that I can do is pull from all of my experiences, pull from the fact that I found something when I was in the county jail and in prison that helped me feel freer than I had ever felt in my entire life, and try my best to package it up and give it to you in 30 minutes, 40 minutes. That's all that I have control over. I don't have control over whether it wins you over. I don't have control over whether 20 people come and watch this, or nobody comes and watch this, or if this is the one that people actually come to watch, or if on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever I get 50, I get 100, I get 1,000 streams or whatever, or if the short form content that I create from this starts to get more traction and I get 1,000 views like I've been getting lately and keep on growing, or if I'm doing like I'm doing on TikTok. I have no control over those things. Those are the things that I have to let go, because nothing was actually falling apart. I was just trying to hold everything all at once. I was trying to hold everything together and just watching it slip through my fingers like sand at the beach. So let's talk about some things we can do to shift and get away from that mindset. 1, the one thing reset. When your mind is overloaded, pause and ask, what is the one thing in front of me right now? What's the one thing in front of me right now? When you're at work, you're looking at the computer screen. What's the one thing in front of me right now? When you're at work and you got the shovel in your hand, you got the rake in your hand, you got the vac truck behind you, you got the pressure washer in your hand, you got the wrench in your hand, you're behind the wheel, you're in the elevator, you're about to go to the interview, you're doing all of these other things. What is the one thing in front of me right now? You're dealing with your girl, your guy, you're dealing with your kids, you're dealing with your family members. What's the one thing in front of me right now? Not your whole life, just the next step. This is like how we put into action the terminology of one day at a time. What is in front of me right now? What can I actually put my hands on right now? What can I actually do something with right now? What can I actually do something about, exert effort on, have influence over, whatever the case, right now? Number 2, write it and then put it down. Take 2 to 3 minutes and write out everything on your mind. 2 to 3 minutes and write out everything on your mind. And this is why journaling is so important for me. This is why journaling is something that I try to do every single day, whether I do it here at home before I leave for work, whether I do it as soon as I get to work, because one of the things I've been noticing is that I can do my little silence here. I can listen to the Bible here. I can read out of the Bible here. I can do my prayers. I can do my little stretches and stuff. And then when I get to work, well, I do my visualizations here, my affirmations also. But then when I get to work, I do my reading. And I can write down a little bit of my thoughts about what I'm gonna have through the day, how my day is gonna be, or how I want my day to be. Putting my hopes for how the day is going to turn out on paper or on my notes app, whatever the case. And then ask yourself, after you've written down, what can I act on today? This is how we start to cultivate the wisdom to know the difference. Because if it's something that you can't act on today, if it's something that you can't act on or change right now, if it's something that you don't have the power over now, because we talk about living in the now and having the power of now, if it's something that we can't get to or change or do something with, and we have to let it go. Let it go until the time comes that we can actually have some influence on it. What can I act on today? What can't I control right now? And then act on one and leave the rest on the page. This is how we start to actively cultivate that wisdom. It's not about waiting around for God grant me the serenity, universe grant me the serenity, Mother Earth grant me the serenity. We're not waiting around for that to happen. We're putting action behind the things that we are trying to manifest in our life. If I'm asking for, if I'm believing on, if I'm putting the energy out there that I am going to have the serenity to accept what I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, then that means that I have to start thinking about and acting on and figuring out how that works in my life and starting to do it. And what happens is that you start to be able to do it really, really well. Because faith without works is dead. You have to act on the things that you ask for. So if I'm saying, God grant me the serenity, then I start writing down. And I start writing down things that's like, okay, well, I'm asking for wisdom to know the difference and stuff. And I'm starting to write down the different things. I should be able to now identify what I can and can't actually change. Because what happens is that we think we have so much more control than we actually do. So when we start writing down these things, we think, man, my kids are acting up. And that's something we think we can act on. You can't really. You can pour into your children, and you can be someone who is a parent on a mission, and you can pour into your children the right way. You can give everything else, but at the end of the day, obedience is not up to you. It's up to the child. You have to try to earn that respect, earn the loyalty, make them a good citizen of the community, make them obedient to authorities and everything. But at the end of the day, it's on them if they want to take it or not. You don't actually have control over the end result. You only have control over what you bring to the table, what you bring to the dynamic. So you really have to really, really look for it to be able to find the difference, to be able to act on one and then leave the rest on the page. Number 3, get back into your body. Do the quick reset. We've talked about it before. When your mind won't stop, slow your breathing, feel your feet on the ground. Look around and name what's actually in front of you. Go into your body scan meditation where you actually start to feel your hands, where you start to feel the pants on your legs, the weight of your body on your butt and on the back of your legs as you're sitting down. Or if you're standing up, the way the weight feels distributed on your feet, the way that everything just feels to flow through your body, the way that the air, if you have the fan on, touches your skin. The way that, like if you're outside, the way the sun feels on your skin, or if the wind hits you, the way that feels on your skin, and just be in your body, focusing on the way that it feels as the breath touches your nose, or as you breathe out through your mouth, the way that the breath feels as it passes through your mouth, it touches your lips, all of that, right? And then you start to examine your thoughts. You start to become the observer of your thoughts, and you start thinking about those thoughts as they go through, realizing that you're not those thoughts, realizing that you don't have to hold on to those thoughts, realizing that those thoughts don't have to be able to hold on to you and take you for a ride and take you where they want you to go. This pulls you out of your head and back into reality. Look, letting go doesn't mean that you stop caring. Letting go doesn't mean that you've gone completely numb to everything that goes on in the world. Letting go because you realize that you can't control how your kids ultimately act doesn't mean that you stop caring about your kids, that you stop pouring into your kids. Letting go doesn't mean that I don't file complaints when I feel like boundaries have been crossed. It doesn't mean that I don't care about my clients at work. It doesn't mean that I don't care about learning about my clients and what they have going on, even though I don't have any control over what's going on in their lives. All I have control over is me. It doesn't mean to stop caring about them and shutting those people out and building those walls instead of just establishing safe boundaries. It just means that you stop trying to carry everything all at once. You don't need to solve your whole life today. You just need to be where you are and handle what's in front of you. You're not overwhelmed because life is too heavy. You're overwhelmed because you won't put anything down. Thinking about everything doesn't prepare you, it just exhausts you. And peace isn't found by controlling more, it's found by carrying less. And that's been letting go. That's been talking about some of the ways that we can learn to let go, talking about some of the benefits of letting go, talking about some of the harms that we do to ourselves by not letting go of things, talking about getting into the now. And I think one of the main things that I've learned about mindfulness, I learned from The Power of Now. I can't suggest this book enough. I think that once, this semester is even over and I can get back time to maybe do some more book reviews and stuff and do some more regular content, I might do a quick little summary and review of that book. But it's about getting out of the past, getting out of regrets. You can't change nothing. You can't change what already happened. It's about getting out of the future. It's about getting out of anxieties and worries, because that day hasn't even come yet. You don't even know if those things are going to come to pass. It's about getting out of those things and being in the now, being fully present, being fully mindful of yourself, of your surroundings, of you. It's not about solving your life. It's not about solving your problems. It's just about handling what's in front of you to be able to put everything into it. All right? And that's mindfulness. That's mindfulness, where we learn to be aware so that we can live life intentionally. This has been your boy Trevor Turner. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for sticking with me this whole time. If you've been here this whole time, if you like the video, man, like the video. Comment on some of the mindfulness techniques you do to get you out of the past, out of the future, out of your head, out of rumination. Maybe something that you have to say will help somebody else. Tell your story in the comments, because your story is as important as anybody else's. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment, share with your friends, all of that stuff. And this has been your boy Trevor Turner. See you next time.